This is Module 5.1.3 of the GO training, Guidance for Communications and Media Interventions. By the end of this module, you should be able to describe why effective communications is essential in an emergency setting. You'll be able to list key policies, practices for communicating for WHO, and describe how additional support for communications can be accessed. So why communicate in an outbreak? Well, communications is very, very important in an outbreak for many, many reasons. The most fundamental reason is that people have a right to be informed about the risks they face and how to protect themselves. Communications helps influence behavior change. For example, hand washing to prevent the transmission of Ebola. It helps identify early and immediately rumors and misinformation. Through communications, we can correct misinformation and address rumors. And internationally, we are able to communicate about the needs that can be obtained to support the response. So raising resources, encouraging other countries to help in the response. These are just some of the reasons why communications should be at the heart of an outbreak response or an emergency response. Effective communications is critical to any public health emergency. In every single public health intervention during a public health emergency, communications will decide whether we succeed or fail. There are many channels of communications, and I'm sure you are a consumer of communications in the modern world. The media, so newspapers, radio, TV, and other forms of media, text messaging and social media, increasingly important, including in the areas where we're responding to in West Africa. Information, education, communications materials. You hear experts calling these IEC materials. These are posters, banners, flyers, leaflets, campaign spots. There's direct intervention with influencers in the community and direct community engagement in communications. We call this community engagement, we call this social mobilization. This session will cover predominantly media and a little bit of social media. And this is important because when you're deployed as WHO staff or as a WHO consultant or a standby partner, you need to know a little bit about how WHO sees working with the media and some of the policies and guidance that you have to be mindful of. Why work with the media? Well, it's the quickest way to get information out during emergencies to millions and millions of people. It's effective, it's fast, it's transparent communications. It is an effective public health tool. It helps us reach a wide audience in a very cost-effective and engaging way. Thus, it builds trust. Remember, the human brain is dedicated 75% of itself to visual processing. So seeing something on television is a very powerful way of communicating, not just facts, but ideas, emotions, and a sense of urgency of what needs to be done. Radio, TV, text messages have shown to be some of the top sources of information for the public in Ebola-affected countries, according to recent community-based studies. So the question, who can be a spokesperson for WHO? Well, the policy is very clear. All personnel working for WHO, deployed for WHO, can communicate in their areas of expertise. However, many things that we have to say to the media can have not just technical meaning or scientific meaning, it can have political and social and other meanings. So therefore, you should get advice from a communications focal point closest to you and approval from the team leader before accepting media interviews. So you can and you are encouraged to talk about areas in which you're an expert, but you're also encouraged to get advice and approval from your team leader. And there'll be communications officers in the field, get their help, practice with them, ask them what sort of questions you might be asked. So spokesperson, when you are deployed for WHO, you are a spokesperson for the organization. And if you've got the right advice from communications officers, if you've got approval from your team leader, remember, this is the role of a spokesperson. You need to communicate information the public wants or needs to prevent and reduce illness, injury, or death. In every communication you do, you need to be able to build trust and credibility. You may be factually correct, but if you diminish trust or credibility, you are doing damage to the overall response. And you need to build support for the public health response. And good spokespersons are able to communicate well and tell their stories in a compelling way. They communicate credibly by preserving the good reputation of the response of the organization, of everybody involved. They're able to relate to different audiences, engage stakeholders, and interact comfortably with the media. You can get help from our communications officers on the ground once you're there, and routinely we provide communications training, including online training, which you can access, and we will have the link for you at the end of this module. A 2.5-hour refresher that will actually help you brush up your communication skills. Remember, reporters today are very different from reporters of 20, 30 years ago. They write for more than one media, for print, for radio, TV, and web. And gone are the days when there was a deadline a day for a story. Reporters are on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week production cycle, so they'll keep coming back to you. One interview may not be enough. And reporters are bombarded with releases, press releases, including from WHO, from media advisories and statements. And most of these don't really contain news. So they're looking for a different angle on the same story from you. Reporters want numbers, numbers, numbers. They want numbers that are current and reliable. And particularly from WHO, which is a technical agency, they want accurate numbers. And to reporters, what do they want? What is news? News is something new. News is something unexpected. It is something surprising. It's against the trend. Or it's a new focus or a new angle on an old story. They love personal stories of what you have seen in the field, how you're dealing with a particular problem, how you have seen people surviving from Ebola are managing. They want to have their telephone calls and interview requests answered quickly. And they want to talk to a spokesperson who gets to the point fast. Also remember, media and social media is not just about talking. It is about listening. So if you are a consumer of social media, please remember there is something called social listening. By listening and analyzing what's happening in social media or analyzing texts that are being sent around, we can figure out 3 very, very important things. We can figure out what's in the hearts of people, the things people love and why, or what they hate, or what they're concerned about. You can figure out what's in their minds, the rationale they offer for the choices they make. And you can figure out how they behave, the things they actually do, not just what they say, what they do, where they do it, when they do it, and how they do it. So social listening is a very important concept, and we have communications teams in WHO who analyze both media and social media on a daily basis that tell us what is in the hearts of people, in the minds of people, and their behavior. You may already have social media channels, you may have Facebook posts, you may have Twitter before you're deployed. And I want you to read WHO's social media etiquette before you engage in social media in the field. We will provide that link to you. But it's important to remember when you're working for WHO, whether you're a standby partner, you're a consultant, or WHO staff, what you say represents the organization. So be very careful to think about that. If you make a mistake, be the first to admit the mistake. Be open to criticism. Be assertive, not defensive. Feel free to correct others, but stick only to the facts, not to your opinions or your anger or your disdain. Do not criticize another organization or individual, and recognize the contributions of your community. This is very, very important. Please, I advise you to read the social media etiquette. If you're communicating from the field, a few reminders. Clarify your role in communications. Are you involved in the production of reports or sit reps? Are you involved in partner engagement, or are you a designated spokesperson? Remember, you need to be officially appointed by the WR in country to be the spokesperson. Establish and communicate clearance processes and deadlines from the beginning. Have an agreed distribution list and agreed level of sensitivity. Respect confidentiality of information. And please remember photographs that you use or take. Make sure the release form is completed. Provide captions and credits. And logo. Get clearance on the use of logo of partners as needed, and really use WHO's logo properly. Again, I will give you a link on how to use WHO's logo properly. Guidelines for dealing with the media. So a recap, WHO technical staff may speak to the media on subjects within their area of responsibility and expertise. Remember, you are not speaking for yourself. You speak for the World Health Organization, not as an individual or an academic or an independent expert in the field. This goes for media and for social media. In countries, clearance for media interviews must be sought from the head of country office, whom we call the WR, WHO representative, or from the national coordinator of the appointed communications officer or the spokesperson. Staff must keep other colleagues informed as to the work they do with the media, including publishing scientific media in journals, because something that you have said or published can influence them and they can be questioned on it. The ethics of taking photographs. This is common sense and general ethics principle apply here. Photographs must be taken, and when they are taken, they should respect human dignity and ensure the right, safety, and well-being of the person or people being portrayed. Photos should also be used with compassion, and efforts should be taken not to place people photographed at undue risk. Photographs of issues that are culturally or politically sensitive, could be socially stigmatizing, must protect the identity and privacy of the individuals. And all efforts should be made to cover children in an age-appropriate and culturally sensitive manner. We have informed consent procedure and the form for this. We have a written and verbal consent form, so please look at the resources at the end of this module. Your personal social media engagement in the field. Remember, you are responsible for your actions and what you post in social media, whether it's words, whether it's tweets, whether it's photographs. In posting photos, updates, or comments, think of what we say CNN, the world media, your mother, and your boss. Are you happy for this to end up on CNN? Are you happy for your mother to see this and your boss to see this? And I would add, does this jeopardize your security or the security of others around you? Consider the reputation of the organization you represent, and that is WHO. So again, these can be rather complicated ideas, so discuss with the communications people in the field, discuss with your team leaders, discuss with your supervisors as to what is appropriate. So, what do you remember from this session? What is the policy to engage with media? Why is engaging with the media important? How should you be careful about using social media while you're out there? What are the clearance processes in WHO? At the end of this, you will be given a few links that will help you get more resources, that will link you to guidance, and also the link to an e-learning on communications refresher that we have designed for WHO staff, but consultants and standby partners being deployed in emergencies can equally access. You can also write to communicationstraining@who.int, communicationstraining@who.int, or Ebola training@who.int and request more information. I hope you found this a useful module.